What's up, team? It's Ghost Stories Gaming back with another video. Today we're doing a tier list of the Deadlock heroes. We're gonna do it from the perspective of an average Andy, a player like myself. I've never been a professional, never been on a professional team, never been a former champion of anything. So I wanted to provide some insight to people who are curious about what these heroes feel like, our experience with the heroes in Deadlock so far. It might be an interesting insight to see how the average player views. If you're someone who is a top tier gamer, professional player, you could, maybe this will provide some insight into how the average players view Deadlock and view heroes in Deadlock, which can help with tip videos or something. I don't know. Just the perspective of someone who on their best day, gold, platinum, if I had 100 hours a week, I could invest into the game, maybe higher. But on my worst day, silver gameplay, you know what I'm saying? So Deadlock tier list, Deadlock heroes tier list from the perspective of an average player. I would definitely consider myself an average player. I don't want to think about it too much. I kind of want to go with my gut from my experience playing the game, what it feels like to fight these heroes, what it feels like to be steamrolled by one, or if someone on my team is doing well with one of these heroes. And this is how I'm viewing a tier list. So a hero in an S tier position is someone in the right hands who will absolutely sway a game, will greatly increase the chances of your team winning. And if in the wrong hands, that character falls in that high A or low A, maybe high B tier, which is still a hero that is effective for your team, can still be dangerous. So basically, if you're good at that hero, it's an S tier hero. If you're bad with that hero, it's still generally better than average. So that's how I'm viewing those. For example, if it's a B tier hero, in the right hands, that B tier hero could be an A hero. In the wrong hands, it's a C or a D. That's how I'm viewing these tiers or these Deadlock heroes. Let's jump into it. So for me, Abrams, right off the rip, S tier hero. How I'm viewing it, my experience, in the right hands on either team, Abrams is a problem, but at those mid-range MMRs, it feels like Abrams with a solid player is always a huge problem or a huge benefit. So for me, super tanky, super melee heavy. I think the kit is strong and is always just, when someone is steamrolling with Abrams, it's hard to come back from that. So I'm gonna go S tier. For Bebop, with the recent nerfs as of October 12th, I'm gonna throw Bebop into a B. With the double bomb being rolled back a little bit, he's always felt kind of like a meme type hero, a hero there for content. I don't feel scared necessarily fighting a Bebop in the open, but I do feel extremely annoyed and sad when I get hooked and bombed. So that part is a nuisance, but I don't feel like a Bebop is necessarily going to sway the game necessarily in my favor if that Bebop player is bad. I'm gonna put him in B tier. Dynamo, my first love in this world, S tier. Utility is great, one of the best ults in the game. You got to heal, you've got damage, and the teleport when used correctly can get your friends out of just about anything. If you're not super familiar with Deadlock, for example, Bebop. If Bebop hooks one of your friends and you teleport with your allies, you can get them out of that hook. So I just think that utility, the strength of his ult, and just the range of the utility, I think puts Dynamo in an S tier ranking. Great talent, C tier. Hayes, I'm putting Hayes right in A tier. I love playing Hayes. I think she's super fun to play. I think her lack of utility prevents her from going into an S tier rating. She's a steamroller, a harasser, there to get kills and cause chaos with the ult. But the lack of utility for me is what prevents her from going into S tier. But again, the way that I view these tiers, in the right hands, she moves up to an S tier. In the wrong hands, she can be, kind of in this range, maybe at the top end of B. But for me, generally speaking, an average Andy, I'm going to throw her in A tier. That's my experience fighting with her, against her. I think she's in a good spot there. Infernus. I'm going to put Infernus above Hayes. Like A+. That's kind of how I feel about Infernus, an A+. By the way, fully disregard the situation behind me. This room is in what we call a transition phase. Disregard the bed. It is a guest room. We got some cleaning up to do. It'll get fixed. Don't roast me. We're gonna be adding some cool stuff on the walls, make it a little more professional stream room. So I'm gonna put Infernus at the top end of A tier. Again, don't come for me as an average Andy. This is how I feel about this stuff. It's one person's opinion, not an expert by any means. In the right hands, he's an S tier hero. I think he can cause a lot more chaos than Hayes. Not necessarily utility, you know, he's not like a utility guy, but the sheer damage that he can cause, the kit is chaotic. The damage over time is chaotic. I mean, it's probably, I mean, outside of, I mean, Shiv and Pak, I'm thinking of other characters with bleed. I feel like he's up there with that because it's passive. So for me, it's like an A+, S-. So like somewhere between here and here. He could just be destructive in the right hands, unstoppable in the wrong hands, just mediocre. So I'm going to put him at the top end of A tier. I might change my mind by the end of this video, but that's where he belongs, in my opinion. Ivy, I'm going to throw Ivy into S tier. Strong utility. I know she's gotten some nerfs recently, but the fly is so powerful with running the urn, saving teammates, dive bombing, you know, the pick potential there for dive bombing enemies. The fly is so strong. The stone form, which makes, you know, gets you out of most things, most trouble. I think her gun is really nice as well. As far as, you know, she's not the best laner, but it's easy to aim. It has a high fire rate. I think Ivy belongs in S tier. I think she, you know, maybe belongs at the bottom end of S tier. Like, I would much rather have a top tier Abrams or a top tier Dynamo on my team first, but I'm not upset if my Ivy's good. Kelvin. When Kelvin first came out, I think this was an obvious S tier. The Ice Beam with the disarms. I mean, his ult is super, super strong. You know, I'm gonna almost, I think I am gonna put him in S tier for now. Super strong support. I mean, the ult is just so good at doing so many things. Blocking people out, protecting the team, you know, securing objectives, whatever. I think he belongs in S tier. Is he above Ivy though? You know what? I'm not gonna worry about the order. No, I'm gonna worry about the order. I don't know if it should be like that. I don't think he's better than these guys necessarily. And the line at the S tier level for me is so narrow. I think you can put these in any order that you want, and it's not necessarily a wrong thing. It might just be preference of style of play. I think he belongs, you know, the number nerds are going to be like, well, blah, blah, blah. That's why he belongs in A. How it feels to fight a good Kelvin. It just sucks, man. It sucks. You know what? I'm going to put him at the top of A tier, maybe. No, I'm going to put him at the top of A tier. S tier. A tier. All right. Lady Geist. I want to put him in S tier for now. These heroes in the S tier ranking are heroes when played exceptionally well can change the game for your team. I firmly believe that. Ivy less so. I'll put her back here. But when there is like, if this is the best player in the game and they're on your team, it can just change so much. These 5 so far. I don't feel that way about Bebop. I don't feel that way about Grey Talon. But anyone like A+, A and above, those are the people that can change the course of games, in my opinion. Lady Geist. I'm going to put her... I used to think Lady Geist was a B tier, and maybe she's at the top of B tier, but I'm going to put her toward the end, backside of A tier. Not a great laner, you know, not great as far as like providing stuff for team fights necessarily. And I'm not including just doing damage, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. She's very hard to solo against. The ult switching health with people, the grenade with like virtually no time to try to avoid. You have to be diving by the time that grenade is landing. It's brutal in the early game. It's brutal in the early game. I mean, the lifesteal, if you buff the lifesteal, I mean, it's so hard. Even if she's losing and gets down to no health, just swaps life and then you're instant dead. So I'm going to put her in A tier. She feels a little slow. I just like the speed of these two more. I think she's at the back end of A tier. I do think she's better than these two. Maybe she's at the top of B tier. She's better than B. Maybe not. I'm going to put her here. I'm going to put her here. Big Blash. Better than these two. Ult's too strong. When you have someone who knows movement, he's too strong. You know what? I'm going to put him in A tier. Because when using the right hands, absolute nuisance, absolute menace. When you're learning Lash and you don't have the movement down and you're not aiming the ult correctly, you're down here. So I'm going to, you know, top of B. McGinnis, right now, A tier. The turret builds, dude, within the last 2 to 3 days, I would say, excuse my language, the fuckery from this character, a menace. McGinnis is a menace. I used to think the wall was, you know, I mean, the wall is just, the wall is great. The turrets are annoying. I mean, she just becomes unkillable, basically. And you can set up a whole lane defense by yourself. You know, I play with a guy named Rogue, and he defends, I mean, he just defends entire lanes by himself. 2-3 characters, he can just defend the whole lane. It's crazy. I'm gonna put her there for now. Mo and Krill for me used to be A tier, and I'm probably gonna leave him there. The disarm is great. The ult is great when coordinated. The sustain is great. I think he's a great laner, to be honest. I think when people first started playing this game, they're like, all right, who's got the gun that can deny or grab souls the best? It's not like the best, but I mean, he just causes chaos. And if he's left unchecked, he's gaining so much health. I think his ult, again, is dependent. Like this ult or Infernus can, secure kills. Hayes can secure kills. McGinnis can secure kills. He can secure kills. I think he takes a little more coordination. This is like a big time roaming character. And by the way, I'm not an expert in MOBAs. I don't claim to be. I don't have, decades of experience. This is just an average Andy's opinion. This is how it feels to fight these characters when they're in good hands. Paradox, A tier. Pick potential gives her so much advantage. The grenade, I believe, just got a buff. She needed a little work, but the pick potential, I think it'll change when Astro comes out, because you can, Astros, if they're going to keep the name Astro, which is the cowboy looking hero coming out with the lasso that can, you can run up and lasso people, steal them away. I don't think she's an S tier because I think there's a lot of danger. So if you're not experienced or you're not, and you have to, it's not like a forgiving ult if you miss. So if you miss, you're kind of screwed. So I think there's some dependent stuff there. I think Hayes, generally speaking, is like a more effective all-around player. Like I think it's a lot easier to play Hayes than these two. So I think the pick potential is what puts Paradox up. Pocket, S tier. I think Pocket is probably, when used right, one of the best damage dealers in the game. Dude, so there's this technique out right now with Pocket. You throw your teleport out and then you case. I have followed that dumb teleport, the flying coat, so often, and he'll case out and just run away. I'm getting duped out in these streets. I think Pocket is extremely strong. The gun that he has makes it so easy to cap souls. Pocket feels strong. Feels strong right now. You know what? I'm gonna put Infernus up there too. Now that more I think about it, I think Infernus is like that because of the AoE damage potential that he has. I know his ult is that way, but I think Infernus is a beast. All right, 7. I'm gonna put 7 maybe right here. I'm gonna put 7 there. When this game first came out, this game has not been out for a long time, but when this game first came out, no one knew how to deal with 7's ult. That ult caused more chaos and destruction in the first week when Deadlock was released than it was the most. There's no way that wasn't the most talked about thing. Nerfing 7's ult. We got to get rid of it. But now people know how to counter it. Dynamo can easily take him out. You can knock him down. I just think it's just his laning stuff that's so good. The ball, the stun, he's just like, the damage output is so high and can be so high with 7. I think it's really hard not to put him up here. I've seen some tier list videos where they have him down here, but again, I think that's the pro. They just understand the game more than I do. Right now, with an average Andy and average Andy teammates, when the 7's good, it's a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass. But I do think his ult is now easily dealt with. I don't think he can be S tier because the ult is so dependent. I think he's somewhere in there. I think he's somewhere in A tier. Is Mo better than 7? I don't think so. The pick potential, this is right. I think Hayes is probably better than McGinnis right now. Maybe this, maybe that, because McGinnis is so stationary. I feel better about it. Again, but guys, S tier, A tier, the lines for me are so thin. This isn't necessarily the order. Your play style is going to come into this a little bit. A cat's causing chaos. Let's see. Shiv, A tier. I'm not even going to explain this. Shiv is A tier. He is. It's a pain in the ass. There's no, if he's close and you're low, there's no escapability. That's the problem. You can't get away. I think he's strong. Him and 7. I'm just thinking, it's like, if I want AoE damage, I want big group damage, I'm picking him. But if you want a hero hunter, you're grabbing Shiv. The ult's so good. The bleed is so strong. You can, I don't know, 4 or 5 knives or something like that. You could spec into that. I think these guys are a little more specialized. I still think they're an A right now. It's just hard to use Moan Crow. Vindicta, as it stands right now, she just got nerfed. She got nerfed big time in this last patch. But she's definitely gonna be up here. Maybe probably like right there. Again, you gotta be able to aim. You gotta be able to aim. If you can't aim, you're down here. So that's part of it. I think she belongs in A tier. Maybe up here. even. But I'd still rather have a grade 7 than a grade Vindicta. Well, I don't know, man, because endgame, the team fights, how often can people focus on, you know, Vindicta? I don't know that you can. Let's assume everyone is playing their best on that day. If that's the case, you know, I'm taking her over these 4 probably. As an individual player, it's tough. It's tough. I think she's an A tier right now. There's probably people are saying she's an S tier. I don't know. I think she's an A tier. Viscous, A tier, 100%. Viscous is A tier, 100%. Escapability, causes chaos. I mean, just the utility is so good. The support is so good. He's great. Warden, top of B tier. Not much to say. He just needs some work. He's cool, man. I like the character a lot. I think it's cool. It's like an old-timey English cop. I just think his ult's kind of slow. I think there's some build out there right now where wardens are running at like a crazy speed. Everyone's specking into like max sprint speed or whatever speed boost they can get because the ult is so slow. Right now, I think he's a B tier, but he can get real tanky, man. So the solo potential is really, really nice if you're in a tight space, or I mean, he's just like a damage vacuum. You just got that cone that goes straight. I think he's a B tier. I think these heroes could potentially be better. And I mean, you could, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? But if coordinated correctly, his ult is an instant kill, and that's why he's good. McGinnis used to be down here, BC, in my opinion, but as of late, she's killing it. I might even now I'm gonna put her up. We're gonna have to adjust this B tier a little bit. Wraith, A tier. Wraith is an A tier. Her ult destroys, the card builds destroy, and if you miss with your cards, you have, you know, 187 bullets. She's a killer. Yamato. The more I play against Yamatos, I thought Yamato was up here. I genuinely did. I'm just not seeing a lot of them at the MMR that I'm at. And when they are, they're not great. Probably somewhere in there. Probably somewhere in here. This is going to be adjusted. I think Great Talon just needs some love, man. Mirage, I'm going to put toward the back end of A. Maybe because his teleport buff, so nice. Now you can see where you're teleporting and you can cancel it before you go. I think that's huge. I mean, his dot is stupid good. I'm gonna put him in A tier next to Shiv, maybe ahead of these guys, because these are more like Great Talon needs some love. The order in which these guys are in right now, these lines are so narrow. I think the tiers for me are correct in the exact order. I don't know. I'd have to do some more thinking about it. These are the correct tiers in my eyes currently. You know, on any given day, Lash is probably kicking my ass more than Warden, so we could do it that way. And Great Talon might even be a B tier, but just toward the back end. I think he needs a lot of love, man. Great Talon needs some love. These are absolute, you know, S tier. To review, S tier heroes in the right hands will win you games. A tier heroes in the right hands will become S tier. In the wrong hands can float down to B. B level heroes in the right hands can be A level, but in the wrong hands are B and C, not necessarily turning the tide. And then there's Great Talon. And that's no hate to Great Talon. I like Great Talon on release. I think the Owl's fun, can be a menace. I just rather have a Vindicta. I think her damage output's a little bit, I just rather have a Vindicta, that's all. If I can freely fly around, I'd rather have that character on my team. So final thoughts, not necessarily the order they are on the tier level. As an average Andy playing against other average Andy MMRs, this to me is what it feels like to face these players at our current MMRs. When there's a good Abrams, you're screwed. When there's a great Hayes, you're screwed. When there's a great Lash, you can deal with it. Not necessarily screwed. This is how I feel about these people. When you've got these people who are better than average, you're not necessarily going to lose automatically. If you have 2 or 3 of these people in the A tier who are better than average, you know, that fall closer to this S tier skill level, you've got a fight on your hands. And if you have 1 or 2 of these people on the other team who are great, it's a problem. It's a real problem. That's it for me. I'm going to do more tier lists. If you guys like this or don't like it, let me know either way. I just need to, you know, as we further explore Deadlock and figure out and experiment with content to make for it. I know people like tier lists, so I wanted to take a stab at it. Again, this is coming from the perspective of an average Andy and hopefully provide some insight into some top tier players of what average players are, how they're seeing it. And if you're brand new to the game, maybe this will provide some knowledge or perspective of who you want to start pouring hours into. Ultimately, it's a game. The point of the game is to have fun. If you're not a competitive player, you play who you like. You can win with anybody. There's a lot of people at the top of this tier list because I feel the game is balanced in a lot of ways. There's going to be 100 million tweaks before, you know, Deadlock dies as a game, but no one feels outright weak. right? So even though I have great talent down here, it doesn't mean that he can't win a 1v1 fight against any one of these. It just depends on the player. I think you're going to enjoy anybody that you play with, and I think anyone can be an S tier hero as long as they're built correctly and your positioning is great. This is an average Andy tier list. Appreciate you guys' time. I'm Ghost Stories Gaming. You guys can find me at Ghost Stories Gaming on all things social. And for more Deadlock or any gaming content of any kind, consider hitting that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.